What's up, everybody? Doc Dog 1985. There's levels to this. All right, guys, check this out, man. We are 2 years. 2 years now. We have been gaming on the Xbox platform. And there's so much that I want to talk about, so much that I want to cover. I don't even know how long this video is going to be, but I hope that you stay all the way to the end and just listen to my rant. I got no script. I got nothing. This is whatever I can remember, and whatever I don't remember, I'm sure we'll talk about it in the comment section. If I forget too much, I might make a 30-minute session with Doc just talking about the 2 years of what it's been like to be an Xbox gamer. So let's start from the beginning with what the expectations was. Okay. Now, every single one of us had a different expectation as to what they were going to get from playing with an Xbox Series X or Xbox Series S, or transferring from into this ecosystem. If you were already part of the ecosystem, staying with the ecosystem. So every single one of us had a unique story as to how this was going to play out. For me, I feel like my situation was the best and the luckiest, to be honest with you, and I can admit that. I came from a perspective where most of my gaming last generation was done on the PlayStation 4, and I didn't get to game as much as I would have liked. Regardless of what was going on, I just didn't. The reason I decided to get an Xbox Series X, and we're going to talk about expectations right now, is because I believed in the hype that it was the most powerful console, and I even took it as far as to believing that it worked the same way like a PC did. It had a 2080 in it, and games were just going to be upscaled, and everything was going to be able to change your settings and have higher FPS on every single game. That's what I believed. So my expectation for the console was extremely high. I remember when I was able to pre-order the console, and I actually got the console as soon as it dropped. However, I had moved from where I actually bought it. So shout out to my boy ISO. ISO went ahead, picked it up for me, and then he shipped it to me to my location. Took a few days to get here. So while everyone else was doing their unboxing videos and was happy and everything, I remember the day I went to the post office to pick up my Xbox Series X. I also had boxed it up real nice, and I opened up the box, and I was in a hotel room at the time. And I remember I opened up the box and I took it out of the box. I have a video up here. And I remember just how happy I was, how excited I was. The internet in the hotel was horrible, was trash. So I remember the first game I actually put into it, because I had a few games with me from because I had an Xbox One as well. I just didn't play it as much. I think it was Gears 4. No. I was wrong. It was Gears Ultimate Edition. And I remember I was already playing that game on the Xbox One when I was traveling, because I had a 1S. And I knew that I was going to upgrade to the Series X. And then when the Series X came, I finished it on the Series X. From that point forward, I was already okay with the thought process that I had a lot of games to catch up on, a lot of games that were Xbox related or Xbox games. I quickly realized that my expectation of what the Xbox Series X was very incorrect. It did not work like a PC where you could just change settings and automatically the games were going to run better. It did not work like that at all. It was just another console. I also learned the hard way that the marketing of most powerful console meant nothing if the developers and that were making games didn't use that full power. I remember all the heat I got in this channel when I called out Microsoft when Assassin's Creed, it was either Origin or Assassin's Creed Odyssey, ran better on the PlayStation 5. And I remember I made a video because I said Assassin's Creed has a symbol that says optimized for the Xbox Series X and S. Yet it ran better on the PS5, and I called it out right on this channel. I remember getting hate for that. It didn't matter. It didn't matter because regardless of what a lot of people out there think, I do call out Microsoft. When there's something I don't like, I do call them out. And that right there was some very strong BS. I remember it. I remember the whole meme of waiting for tools. I remember it. And I remember sitting there thinking like, man, they're right. Where all this power that we talk about, where is it? How come it's not being shown directly? So that initial expectation of the most powerful console was crushed very quickly. That should have completely deterred me from continuously wanting to play on the Xbox. But something very interesting happened. The main reason that I gamed on PlayStation last generation was because I believed in the narrative that Xbox didn't have any really good games. And for all intents and purposes, I was satisfied with everything that I was playing on the PlayStation. I was playing those one and done games. I'm a fan of Uncharted. I was playing the Uncharted's. Okay? I'm a fan of Zero Dawn. Let's play Zero Dawn. Okay? I was a fan of those types of games. Now, once I got the Xbox, and I remember on that time, maybe I had maybe 500 subscribers on my channel, maybe 600, something like wasn't a big amount. But it was a lot of OGs that I appreciate you for sticking with me so long. They would start recommending me games. Oh, you haven't played on that? Oh, you got to play this game. You got to play that game. You got to play this game. And I ran through all the great Xbox franchises. But here's the deal. Even though my Xbox Series X didn't quite work like a PC, it did upscale these games. It did give them auto HDR. And it did give them FPS boost. So the games that I got to play ran amazing, looked beautiful, and I was blown away. I enjoyed every single Gears. I enjoyed every single Halo. And obviously some Halos are better than others. But they told me that by Halo 3, after Halo 3, there was no other good Halos, that I wouldn't like Halo 4 and I wouldn't like Halo 5. That's a lie. I like them too. Halo 2 is my favorite though. That's my personal favorite, Halo 2. Reach probably comes after that. But Halo 2 is my favorite. Halo 2, Reach, and then Infinite probably. Halos are good. Halo's good. Halo's a great franchise. Anyways, don't let them tell you though. After that, they told me about other games like Sunset Overdrive. I tried that. I was like, oh my God, this is a great game. Blown away. They told me about Quantum Break, which for whatever reason gets a lot of hate, but I enjoyed Quantum Break. I enjoyed Quantum Break. Yes, some of the cutscenes are extremely long, but the gameplay of that game and the concept of that game, I enjoyed the game. What else? Probably the most underrated game on the Xbox platform, period. Rise, Son of Rome. I enjoyed that game. And then something very interesting happened where I realized that Xbox gamers, when I was just looking to see what they were telling me what I should play next, they didn't care whether I was playing a first-party game or a third-party game. The reason they were recommending all these Xbox games to me is because I had never tried them before. But when I would tell them that I haven't played this game, I haven't tried that game, the gamer in them was telling me, hey, don't worry about it if it's first party or third party. You need to play this game next. You need to play that game next. And I went ahead and went down the line the last 2 years playing all different types of games on my Xbox Series X. Being able to play these games upscaled, 4K, HDR, a lot of them FPS boosted, satisfied that most powerful itch. And again, the reason I say I'm lucky is because I'm one of those people that got to play old games. And I remember that narrative. I remember the narrative of you don't buy a next gen console to play old games. And boy, were they wrong. Boy, were they lying. Because at a certain point, everyone is playing old games. I remember that. I remember the whole Xbox is bad because games are going to be held by last generation when we believe in generations. And then somehow we believe in generations didn't mean we believe in generations, and everyone understood that wrong. I remember. I remember the difference between holding a PS4 controller and holding the Xbox One controller and holding an Xbox One S controller. I mean, a Series X controller. Ever so slightly, a little bit smaller, a little bit tighter, a little bit better. Again, just the genius in being able to grab something that was already great and not needing to completely revamp and reformat it or add a whole bunch of gimmicks to it. No, there's no gimmicks in the Xbox Series X and S controller. It is a better Xbox One S controller. I remember being able to connect my Xbox One S controller to my Xbox because it just made sense. I remember this. I'm trying to remember everything that I can for the past 2 years. So sorry if there's not a format. Okay, you guys know how I make my videos. Game Pass then became the main focus. Once everything was said and done, and once I realized the power narrative is not the route that I want to take, and I remember taking advice from the other side when they would say, when they first said games before frames, then it didn't matter once they were winning the frames argument. Then all of a sudden frames really mattered. But games before frames is a very true statement. And for someone like me, seeing the library of Xbox Game Pass just was phenomenal. The Xbox is a silent killer. The system turns on, you don't even hear it. The other system, you do hear it. I have them side by side, trust me. You can hear the other one when you turn it on. You can hear the other one rev up from time to time. Not that that makes it bad, but that is a difference. I have yet to hear my Xbox Series X rev up. Yet. I remember when they were saying that the Xbox Series X would get too hot, and I would have my Xbox Series X standing up and I'd put my hand over it. And I remember feeling the heat. Me not being a technical person, I didn't know if that was good or bad. And then thank God some people came out and said, no, that's what the system should do, is expel heat. It's doing it the proper way. I haven't had an issue with my Xbox Series X. So everything is fine. I remember finally when games were dropping and I was trying out games that I would never ever try before. Something like Flight Simulator. And being just blown away. I remember sitting down playing with Juju, my son, and just being blown away, being able to fly. And everybody, all of us, we all did it. You remember flying over your house. You remember flying over your house. That's some pretty cool stuff. Remember flying in Brazil, going over the Jesus statue, looking at the sunset. Just amazing. Just amazing. I remember Forza Horizon 5. I'm not even a racing fan like that. But I remember that game. And I remember when it came out, I streamed it on Twitch. Very small, still, channel still very small. Streamed it on Twitch. And we had over 60 people in that Twitch chat just watching me play Forza Horizon 5. And then we had a squad of like, I don't know how much it was, maybe like 12 people joined the game and we all raced together, to include Kid Smooth. Shout out to you, Kid Smooth. Kid Smooth joined the party and came down and played with us. Played with the common folks. I remember that. Amazing time. I remember the amount of noise that this game was making, Forza Horizon 5. Because of how beautiful it looked, how well it ran, and no matter what anybody tried to say as far as poppins and looking at under the car or whatever, the game still was the most beautiful thing out there. Hands down, there was nothing that compared to how beautiful Forza Horizon 5 looked at the time it came out, and still to this day holds up. And that month, I remember everybody, every non-racing fans were playing Forza Horizon 5. It was a day and date game that came out on Game Pass that did tremendous. Then the very next month, almost chopping off the feet of Forza Horizon 5, Microsoft drops Halo Infinite. And Halo Infinite blows up. It is the only campaign till this day that I have done every single side mission, objective, got all the towers. The only game that I have done that. It is to this day the only game that I have gone back to play at a harder difficulty. It is the only game. I thoroughly enjoyed how good Halo Infinite looked, how smooth it ran. The gunplay was just phenomenal. Had fun playing that on Twitch as well. Remember, we had a tournament, the What a Warrior podcast, me, ISO, David, and Legend 350. Shout out to you guys, against the pack. Yerp, TK9, and they won. Not because of me. I showed out. I played that game. I played. But the pack won. But there was community in that. It was the first time that I played video games and really saw how much the online factor of a game and being able to play multiplayer with other people really matters. Really enhances gameplay. Yes, one and dones are great. Yes, story-driven narrative games are great, but there's something different when you're playing a multiplayer game and every single match becomes its own story, its own little narrative, its own little drama, its own little everything. There's levels to this. There's a difference between multiplayer and single-player games. There's a difference. There's multiplayer games on the other platform. However, I don't care what anybody says, there's not the same multiplayer culture on the other platform. There's just not. That other platform is driven by the single player experience, and you cannot argue that. Playing on the Xbox, at some point, you're forced to stop being afraid and game on with other actual live humans and see how good you are. Doesn't matter what difficulty you put that game in. There's nothing harder than playing another human being. To this day, there's no AI yet in video games that'll be as good as someone that's really proficient at a fighting game. Trust me, I know we played the pack in fighting games as well. Or at a shooting game, go ahead, try to play ISO in any shooting game, see how that goes. It just doesn't compare. Doesn't compare. Microsoft, Xbox got me to come out of my comfort zone and play these multiplayer games. Besides that, the only other multiplayer game I had ever really played and dabbled in was Apex Legends. Wow, this video is long, but it's okay. Then after all that is said and done, another disappointment comes out. A lot of games that were supposed to come out this year in 2022 aren't coming out. There's nothing. There's nothing. Another scenario where it would be easy to just say, I'm done with Xbox, jump ship, go somewhere else. There's plenty of other platforms to play on. However, as an Xbox gamer, it was already instilled in me that I don't care if a game is AAA, double A, quadruple A, single A, quintuple A. I don't care. I don't care if a game has a high budget, low budget, medium budget. I don't care. I don't care if a game is first party, second party, third party, fourth party. I don't care. I don't even care what the Metacritic score of a game is anymore. Xbox gamers don't care what how many people are watching a game on Twitch. Xbox gamers play the games that they want to play and they make a decision for themselves whether or not they like that game. And that was the strength of Game Pass that carried Microsoft throughout this entire year. If it wasn't for Game Pass, I don't know how Microsoft would have survived this year. Somehow they figured out a way to stay incredibly videos way longer than I wanted it to be, but it's okay. So it cut off. But like I was saying, Game Pass sustained the life of Xbox throughout this year because again, Xbox gamers, we didn't care whether something was first party, second party, third party. We don't even care about Metacritic score. We just want to be able to experience the game ourselves and see if we like the game. And that's why in the Xbox community, you have something like Scorn that some people don't like, say it's horrible. And then people like me that finish Scorn will tell you it is literally one of the most incredible games that I have ever played because it lets you fill in the blanks and the story means whatever it means to you. Scorn is literally all exploration, puzzle, gameplay, no actual narrative to try to jolt you in whatever way you want it to go. When you finish that game, you come up with your own conclusion. So for those of you that got to finish Scorn, you know exactly what I'm talking about. For those of you that just gave up on it, that's perfectly fine. And that's the beauty of Game Pass as well, is that you don't have to play everything that's on it. You can move on to the next. For instance, I went ahead and I tried the Yakuza series on Game Pass. Ended up not liking it. It got taken off of Game Pass and I was okay with it. It came back on Game Pass. I didn't try to play it again. Now I know that I don't like the Yakuza series. I went ahead and I played Mass Effect Legendary Edition, the first one. Amazing game. Can't wait to play the second one. And then I went ahead and turned around and played something like The Gunk. And I liked that game. Went ahead and I played Control. And I liked that game. It has been an amazing journey the past 2 years. Then big news came out within the last 2 years. The biggest one probably being the whole Activision acquisition, which at this point you gotta be tired of talking about it. I know I am as well. And it doesn't really matter if they actually purchased this or not. Because the amount of studios that they already have in there should generate games. Now I say should, because a lot of things got delayed. But now we're going to go into 2023. And for all intensive purposes, we can go ahead and give this year, if it even matters to you or not, to the other platform. You got to give it to them. They stuck to what their plan was, which is story-driven, first-party, AAA games, which is what their fans value regardless of the price. A few remasters here and there, and everything Microsoft gave us came via third-party, came via indies, and if you have Game Pass, you probably enjoyed most of it. Or had access to enjoy and try it out yourself. Now this year's about to come up. And I don't know how long Game Pass could hold the Xbox gaming ecosystem platform up. without delivering on the promise of the games that they have for all these studios. 2 years of Xbox has been phenomenal. Yet, this year that's coming up, something different. They have to, they have to be true to the promise of the games that they're going to release. Not because they're first party games and first party games are better, not because they're AAA games and AAA games are better, but because they promised these games. That's it. Speech of prices going up in either console or services or games or whatever are being talked about. And Microsoft has to realize that the best way to describe the last 2 years of gaming on an Xbox console or the Xbox platform is value. Value is it. Value is what has defined Xbox the past 2 years. Value and accessibility. And then we go into the underrated juggernaut that is xCloud. The one service that most gamers don't really care about, yet competed with a competitor that if they would have actually tried and put their money where their mouth was, could have been maybe a force to reckon with. xCloud versus Stadia. When you become an Xbox gamer, if you became an Xbox gamer these last 2 years, you literally had a chance to dabble in every single aspect of gaming. Console gaming, PC gaming, and even cloud gaming. Now, even though the biggest cloud competitor out there, Stadia, is now officially dying, January 18th, I think it is. Their technology was better. Games ran better on Stadia versus xCloud. Now, Microsoft has worked on their technology, and xCloud runs pretty well. And it's interesting because they didn't need xCloud, yet we have it. xCloud made it so that you can be an Xbox gamer however you want to be an Xbox gamer. The Series S, also another way to be able to access Microsoft and Xbox. Domination and taking over is the mentality that Xbox has had the last 2 years. And if you don't see that, the fact that they didn't have any of these first party AAA must play games this year and they're still relevant should show you everything else that they're doing that becomes a threat. Because what happens when they do have that you also value? TK has this saying, he calls a few of you checklist gamers. Meaning if it's on the checklist of things you should play, you go ahead and play it. But you have no gaming identity yourself as to what you play. It's not your fault. I also had a gaming identity that I thought was just the way that I gamed. I thought my gaming identity was one and done games, story driven narrative single player games, third person shooter, first person shooter games. That was all I played. Now I'm out here playing everything from puzzle games to first person shooter games to games with swords fighting dragons, which I would have never tried. All different types of games. Multiplayer games, single player games, racing games I would have never tried. Real time strategy games. all because of the Xbox ecosystem. I just got to say thank you to Microsoft, thank you to Xbox for the past 2 years of allowing me to game more than I've ever gamed simply because I have the access to game however I want. I've used xCloud when I go on vacation and I go to visit my kids. I've used xCloud on at waiting at an airport for a plane. I've played. I've been able to get Xbox Series S for my kids, Xbox Series X for myself, so that we can play as well, and just just makes sense. I got a PC. I've been able to download games on the PC as well because of Game Pass Ultimate. So, 2 years gaming on this platform has been amazing. This is a very long video. If you made it to the end, I appreciate you. I really do. If you didn't, I get it. I probably should have made this a 30-minute session with Doc. But with all that being said, you're only as good as your last fight, Microsoft. You're only as good as your last year. Next year, you still got to bring it, especially if you're thinking about raising. That's it. You cut off again. This is probably the longest time I've ever been in front of camera. Doc Dog 1985 is levels to this. We out. Peace.